Malban here, and I'm going to do one last video, I think, about Vectrex 32 Galactic Studio Basic. I think I'm nearly done with everything I wanted to do. I know I said that last time, but now I'm even more so. I have spoken to Bob, written, and he's ready to release the PiTrex version of GSBasic. I'm going to pack it up and release it shortly. Not today, probably not tomorrow, but I think before the end of the week. I wanted to show you one last time all the programs that are running. I will probably pack all programs of Bob's with the release of the basic. There are a couple of other programs like this Trex, the Tron, Vector Gunner. What else was there? I think there was at least one another. I don't think I will pack them into the release. If any of you programmers listen to this video, see this video, if you want it to be distributed with this version, I gladly do so. But you have to tell me that I can. I'm not going to write to everybody and ask for permission. I'm just releasing it more or less as it is. So anyway, I just wanted to show you one last time the basic games that are possible to run and how they are working. It's going to be a little bit lengthier video because I want to go a little bit more into depth. So if you there's nothing really new here. So if you want to leave, be my guest. This Fruit YM is a program I have written quite some time ago because I wanted to play YM files with Galactic Studio Basic, and I did that with just playing the registers and the sound command. Just for a short demo. This is the usual Basic is on the Vectrex 32 Basic 2. And yeah, it does play the sound, but it's on the original cartridge there's not so much space that you can really play large YM files. So as this was a tech demo, it is okay, but it was not really usable as such. So I'm going back. What else was there? Copy star. I think that it's just another YM thing. Demo 3D, this is the one from Bob, where you can add these sprites and move them, and if you press buttons you can do some more. Yes, this should all work okay, because by now the 3D stuff should all work all right. Next one, dump memory. Well, this one does not work because on PiTrex you do not have any memory to dump. Lunar lander is working, although I still haven't been able to land. If I remember correctly, there's no sound, but as you can see, the analog joystick is working. Yeah, well, you can speed up the lander using the analog joystick. And well, it's working. What else can I say? What else have we got? Then we've got this breakout invaders missile command thing. We have sound enabled. I think I do, because by now, yeah, it's not much sound in here, but a little bit. I think there's a little explosion too. Yes, there you hear it. These are the Vectrex sounds, which I by now sort of copied. I rewrote the sound routines which are contained within the Vectrex BIOS, and so you can use the usual routines you can use from BASIC to generate sound, which where Bob usually calls the BIOS within the Vectrex. On the PiTrex that is not possible because you do not have a BIOS on the Vectrex because the Vectrex is halted and not working, and you can't even read memory locations from the Vectrex. So I had to rewrite the sound routines and as you can see, they are working. Next one, what else have we got? Scale test, yeah, I'm not going to run that. SFX play, I'm sure you know those sounds. What sounds? I don't know, what is it? These are is a demo of Bob's, I think. Don't really. Should the explosion do something? I think I will power up Vectrex 32 basic and look if it's working there. He just didn't do anything, the explosion. Yes, what else have you got? Because theoretically the explosions should work, as you have seen or heard with the missile breakout invader clone. Star Trek, yes, Star Trek is still working now with sound. This is also sound from the Vectrex BIOS. I really like this game actually. I don't know why it's abandoned by its author, because I really like it. As you can see, I optimized the vectors. They are now drawn in one go. You do not have any breaks in between, but this also means you cannot actually use any different scale factors from BASIC. So if you want to play with a scale factor, that's not really as possible as it was before. But on the other hand, all the display is handled by the Vectrex interface that I programmed, and I think actually it's best to do it that way. Yeah. Okay. Next level. Now I'm not going to do another level, but I really like this game. I hope the author finds time or is inspired perhaps by the PiTrex to visit this one again and finish it up. Not much is missing, I think. Timing, I don't know. Wake Alabeth. Yes, it's still working. It's non-different than last time. You can see. I don't know if you can see it on the video, but the game is less flickery than on the Vectrex 32. It's a very stable, most of the time, very stable display. This one is not so stable. This is clearly less than 50 Hertz, but still, I think a little bit, perhaps, stable than on the PIC cartridge. I want to be a fighter, and I showed you that before. Nothing changed. I'm not going to buy any food now, but it's still working. Just believe me. Then what else have we got here? I think what I didn't show you is a correct running version of Vector Gunner. Last time I showed you that one, the Arcus tangents function was not correctly working, or I used it from BASIC, and in Vector Gunner programmed Arcus tangents 2 function somehow is different. You can also see it here that the display is less wobbly than on the 32. Bob, sorry, I don't know. I don't want to disregard your BASIC cartridge. It's just noticeable because I just recently looked at Vector Gunner on the BASIC cartridge, and this display used to wobble quite a lot. That's just why I mentioned that. Yeah, this is Vectrex. It also now features a little bit of sound. You can perhaps hear that. And yeah, it's working correctly now, as you can see. And as I said, it also has a little bit of sound. And I think not much more is left, is there? Start check, timing, vector gunner. Oh yeah, we still have this VxTron. I really like this one. And as a demo, I have not corresponded with Jay about it. But as a demo, what you can do with the PiTrex Basic, I implemented, as I said before, 3 additional function clusters: YM playback, sample playback, and SFX playback. And as a personal demo, I replaced Jay's audio implementations within this Tron with my own. This is mainly because Jay's implementations would not work with the PiTrex, because he used so-called code sprites, and code sprites in Vectrex 32 Basic are actually implementation in 6809 assembler, which are called from Basic. So what you do is you program an assembler program, do a hex dump of the assembler program, and put the hex dump, the numbers, the pure numbers, into the RAM of the Vectrex with 32 Basic. And then you have the ability with the code sprites to call these routines. So you can actually run assembler programs from Basic. Well, this version of Basic on the PiTrex does not really have a Vectrex where it can execute 6809 code, because the Vectrex is actually switched off, the processor is switched off, the hold line is active, and the processor is not running. With the processor not running, there is no code running on the Vectrex. So code sprites, as they were, are really impossible to implement on the PiTrex. Well, impossible is a large word. You could emulate the 6809 again, but no. So code sprites were impossible, and his sound routines used code sprites extensively to synchronize, to unpack, and to execute the sound routines in a timely manner. He used interrupts and so on. It was really involved code, which nearly made 1/3 of the whole program of the Tron program was all about sound calling. Now, when I replace them, there are, I don't know, 10, 15 lines of code which do the whole sound processing. Vectrex Tron usually plays a music title. I have not extracted the original title music. I used my own just YM file I had on my disk. It's the same YM file as with ZBlast on the PiTrex, and I just coded into VxTron mainly as an example on how to do it. Just to load a YM file and play a YM file back. It's really easy. It's 2 lines of code. Initialize a YM file with a file name, and after that write play the YM file. Then it plays it in the background. I did extract his sound effects. I figured out how he packed them, and I unpacked them, and I have got them on disk, and I'm really intrigued by them, because the countdown he did, 3, 2, 1, go, are just YM registers, and it's really small, and you can actually discern the 3, 2, 1, go with just a few bytes of PSG code. I'm really interested in how he did that. It's quite fascinated. But anyway, I did not use this either because I started VxTron as a demo and I wanted to continue with it. So the 321go I replaced with a sample file, 321go, which I recorded, well, of myself. As I said, you can always play the original PSG registers. They will be no, they will not be. No matter. Anyway, the 321go is now a sample, and the sample is equally easy to implement because you just load sample file name and play sample, and then the sample is played. So, and the third and last, there was one additional sound effect, collision, an explosion. With the explosion, I did the third new implementation of possible sounds. There's a sound format called AYSFX, and I use this a lot in my own Vectrex programs. So Vector Blade is done with these, and I think the other release is also done with that. So I'm really used to these. They are easy. There's a Windows editor for them, and VD can generate them. And yeah, well, in my world, AYSFX files are quite common. I don't know if in any of your world. Anyway, the explosion I did with such an SFX, and it's more or less the same as the others. You can, yeah, well, the SFX data you do not load. You fill an array with the data and then play the SFX, but it's equally easy. Anyway, long talk. Let's go to the Tron. In the menu, I did not change the menu, so I was very tempted to do so because it's really flickery, and I don't like flicker. But it would have been a major code operation to extract all this. The only thing I did is the VxTron logo is usually loaded directly from disk. I cached it with a basic program, so it does not have to load the logo each frame, because on the PiTrex you do have the memory to do so. The cycle that is displayed is actually displayed in 3 different frames. This is why it's so flickery. I think I could have changed that, but it would still have flickered a lot, and I kept it as such. Anyway, let's look at the game, then you can hear the other sounds. I'm just starting a game. I have to get the button. This one I changed. The scoreboard is now not flickery anymore. The scoreboard used to be displayed with a background of the cycles that you just had. Yeah, this is a little confession to myself. Don't like flicker, so this is just a game over scoreboard. Anyway, I'm starting again. I'm hopefully not dying as soon, because I just have to press these buttons correctly. I discovered that Tron sometimes crashes. I did not mean this as a crash. The program really crashes. At first I was very afraid that this was... this is what I meant. At first I was afraid this was due to my implementation. I don't know what happens here. But I was able to recreate these crashes on the original Vectrex 32 basic. I don't know if it's the Tron program or is it something in the basic. It is something that is very, very hard to debug on a bare metal system, and I'm not going to do that. since I know the crash is also happening on the original program, I just say I ported it well, and yes, that's about it. I ported it well. The crash is also ported. The crash usually can happen if you change directions within the Tron. I don't know what's internally called if you change directions. Sometimes you play 10-15 minutes without any crashing, and I have not seen actually the demo mode crashing. It's only when you play as a human. I think it happens more often if you rapidly change the directions. Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to start another game because, yeah, well, I actually really like this game, and I think it's quite cool, and you can move the camera and look at the other players, what they are doing, and well, certainly as the field gets more crowded, oops, the visuals get a little bit slower, but it's yeah, I think it's a fascinating program, and yeah, as you heard, the crashes are actually the explosions. You can hear these are the SFX files. You can hear the music playing in the background, and 3, 2, 1 go is the sample file which I wanted to demo. I'm not sure whether I can or will distribute this version with the PiTrex. I have to. For this, I'll probably try to ask Jay if I get his permission. Yes, that's. I think that's all. It's also the last program that's on my list to show. I'm going now for a few very short curves here and look if it crashes now. Oh, only I'm crashed. Okay, this was PiTrex Galactic Studio Basic, probably my last video about it, unless some dire changes happen. I thank you and goodbye.